All right, over the next few minutes, we're going to tackle one of the most misunderstood topics in modern health, HIV. Our goal is simple, to strip away the confusion and build a clear understanding right from the very beginning. So let's dive in. But before we can talk about any specific virus, let's start with something we can all relate to, our own bodies. I mean, have you ever really stopped to wonder how you fight off something like the common cold? Well, it all comes down to this incredible built-in defense system, and understanding that is the key to everything else we're going to talk about. Okay, so here's a really simple way to think about it. Picture your immune system as a fortress, a smart, powerful castle that is constantly defending you from all these invisible invaders. It's basically your body's personal security detail, on the job 24/7. So if our body's a fortress, then who's guarding it? And maybe even more important, who's in charge? Who's calling the shots? Well, the frontline soldiers in this fortress army are your white blood cells. But an army is pretty useless without leaders. And that's where the T cells come in. Think of them as the commanders, the officers. Their job is absolutely critical. They identify the enemy and direct the entire attack, basically telling the soldiers what to fight and how to do it. Without them, the army is completely lost. All right, so we've got our fortress, we've got our army, we've got our commanders. Now let's meet the intruder we're here to understand. What exactly is HIV? The name itself actually tells you pretty much everything you need to know. The H stands for human, because, well, it only affects us humans. I is for immunodeficiency, and this is the really key part. It means it weakens or creates a deficiency in our immune system. And V is for virus, which means it's a hijacker, a tiny germ that has to take over our own cells to make copies of itself. So, how does this specific virus actually get past the walls of our fortress? Well, it doesn't use brute force. It has a much more cunning, much smarter attack plan. Okay, so this is what makes HIV so tricky. It doesn't just charge the gates head on. No. Instead, it acts like a spy. It slips right past the regular soldier cells and heads directly for the command center. It's going right after the T cells, the commanders. The goal is to take down the entire defense system from the inside out. So let's walk through exactly how this takeover happens, step by step. First, it targets a T cell and locks on. Then it infiltrates, injecting its own viral instructions right into that cell. After that, it takes control, completely hijacking the cell's internal machinery. And the final, devastating step, it replicates. The T cell stops being a defender and is forced to become a factory, churning out thousands and thousands of new copies of the virus. And that right there, that's the heart of the whole problem. See, HIV doesn't just eliminate the commanders. It's worse. It turns them into traitors. It literally transforms the very cells designed to protect you into factories that mass produce the enemy. Okay, and all of this brings us to a really, really important point, and honestly, one of the biggest misconceptions out there, the difference between HIV and AIDS. Because let me be clear, they are absolutely not the same thing, and we're about to make that crystal clear. I'm going to say it again because this is so critical to understand. Having HIV is not the same thing as having AIDS. Yes, the two are related, but they are not interchangeable terms. So let's break it down side by side. On one side, you have HIV. That's the virus, the intruder that attacks the immune system. With modern treatment, a person with HIV can keep that virus under control and live a long, healthy life. On the other side, you've got AIDS. That's the condition or syndrome. It's the most advanced stage of an HIV infection, and it happens if the virus is left untreated and severely damages the immune system. So when does a diagnosis switch from HIV to AIDS? Well, it happens when that T-cell commander count drops to a dangerously low level. At that point, the fortress has basically lost its entire leadership team, and its gates aren't just wide open and vulnerable to all sorts of other infections. Okay, so we've walked through all the science, right? The fortress, the spies, the commanders. But why is knowing this stuff so important? Well, it turns out this knowledge is our first and maybe our best line of defense. It's because when you really understand the how and the what of something, you can start to replace fear with actual facts. And that knowledge, it's what tears down stigma. It empowers all of us to have accurate and compassionate conversations about health. All right, so let's quickly recap the main takeaways here. First, your body has an amazing defense system, our fortress. Second, HIV is a very specific virus that goes right for the commanders of that system, the T cells. Third, HIV is the virus, AIDS is a potential late-stage condition if it goes untreated. And maybe most importantly, this isn't just random science trivia. This foundational knowledge is an incredibly powerful tool. And really, that's the whole point, isn't it? Once you understand how the fortress is attacked, you get so much smarter about how to defend it. We learn how to protect ourselves, how to treat the infection, and how to support the people affected by it.
So today, we've built the foundation. We've laid out the basics. And understanding the problem is always, always the first step. So the real question to leave you with is, what's the next one? Thanks for watching.